So, you've decided you want to crochet for charity. That's an amazing first step. Unfortunately, it's super easy to get hung up on the next step, finding a charity that speaks to you and wants your crochet donations. Hello, and welcome to Blah Blah Black Sheep, a weekly yarny podcast where I, Sarah Korth of SEK Handmade, talk all things yarny. Today I'm going to help you out by giving you lots of amazing ideas of places to donate your crochet. The first thing we're going to talk about is greater organizations that accept crochet items for their charity. And then I'm going to talk about places local to you that you can reach out to see if they accept donations. So first, let's talk about those larger organizations that accept donations of crochet items. One of my goals with this is to share with you several organizations that accept different sized projects so that hopefully you can find something you really feel passionate about and want to get involved in. The first organization I want to share with you is called Operation Gratitude. This is a wonderful organization that accepts hats and scarves and adds them into care packages that are sent off to troops that are deployed abroad. Being a deployed soldier away from home, sometimes for very long periods of time, I can only imagine would be really challenging. Opening up a care package and finding a special handmade gift in it would be just so meaningful. What a great way to use your crochet to brighten someone's day. They also host virtual craft circles via Facebook. So if this is an organization you're interested in, be sure to go find them on Facebook and join in the community as well. The second organization I'd like to share with you is called Knit the Rainbow. Knit the Rainbow was founded in 2020 and they accept hand knit and crocheted warm winter items such as hats, scarves, mittens, and cowls, and they hand them out to homeless and at-risk youth of the LGBTQIA+ community. This organization started out in New York, but has started to spread across the country. They have chapters now in New Jersey, Chicago, Detroit, as well as New York. Sadly, homelessness can be a huge problem among the LGBTQIA+ youth community, and so showing them love through a handmade item and helping them feel lifted up in a really tough time is just such an amazing thing to be a part of. My third organization that I'd like to share with you is Warm Up America. Lots of people think about making a blanket and get very overwhelmed by this. That's why Warm Up America is a great organization. They accept 7 by 9 inch squares, which feels like a lot more reasonable sized project. They gather up these squares and they assemble them into blankets, and then they hand them out to individuals in need across the United States. Check their website too, because they might also be accepting hats, scarves, gloves, and baby items, depending on the time. If there's anything I know about crocheters, it is that there is a large section of crocheters who love to crochet blankets. If you're one of those people, then my fourth organization is for you. Project Linus was started in 1995 and has given away over 9 million blankets since then. While they do want you to crochet an entire blanket, it is for a really wonderful cause. They give out their blankets to ill, traumatized, or otherwise in need children all across the United States. They do ask that you use kid-friendly washable yarn since the blankets are going to children. My last organization that I'm going to suggest for you is Knitted Knockers. This is a nonprofit organization that provides patterns both in knitting and crochet for you to work a prosthetic breast for women who have had mastectomies or lumpectomies. Their goal is to provide a lightweight, soft alternative to traditional prosthetics. They connect with makers and recipients worldwide, so this is a wonderful international organization working hard to provide support for breast cancer survivors. As I said last week, working with any of these larger organizations often means that unless you live in a larger metropolitan area or where the organization itself is located, you may not have a place to donate without mailing out your finished items. This might be something that does not deter you, but I do want to encourage you to think about the additional cost of that before you commit to making a whole bunch of things for one of these organizations. If you would find the additional cost of shipping a hindrance to your crocheting for charity, I have some ideas of local places to look into that very often accept charity items. When we lived in Ohio, I organized a fiber group that worked for charity. We did some for our church, making blankets for children who were baptized and prayer shawls for those in need, but we also worked with the greater community, and I learned a lot as I reached out to organizations to find out what they needed. So the first thing I want to say is that while these are all places I have worked with in the past, you need to reach out to people in your local community and connect with somebody who really needs your help. We have a saying in my family that help that's not wanted is not helpful. I may not be the only aggressively helpful person in our family. So you want to be sure that you're working with whatever organization you're ultimately donating to make sure that it's a great fit for both of you. The first organization that I want to suggest you check out and see if they accept handmade items are shelters. And this one I'm talking specifically for people. These can be shelters for unhoused people. These can be safe houses for women escaping abusive relationships. I will say it really varies on what shelters in your local area want and need. Sometimes they accept handmade items and sometimes they don't. So it is really important to check in. When we were working with a shelter, I found out that the thing that they really did not want was tiny blankets, like little loveys or baby blankets. When they had people coming to them who were unhoused, they needed a blanket to keep them physically warm. And so they wanted large blankets, as well as hats and scarves. The next thing I'd like to suggest to look into in your local area are shelters, and this time I'm talking animal shelters. Often animal shelters also love to provide something special for their critters that come in, and dogs and cats will sometimes get a handmade blanket. Again, this is really going to depend on the shelters in your area and what they feel comfortable putting in the kennels and confinement areas with the animals that they serve. So definitely be sure you check them out and ask if this is something they accept before you make a whole bunch of blankets and just try to take them down there. Another thing might be, though, that you might make blankets for an animal shelter and they might auction them off to raise money for the shelter. So even if it isn't something they give directly to the pets, you could be giving your time and talent to help raise money to care for those pets. Suggestion number 3 is to look into medical facilities. Sometimes hospitals are looking for hats, both for people who are there for cancer treatment and for little babies in the NICU. I have found this to be something that people would really like to make items for, but it's very hit and miss as to what medical centers will accept for these types of items. Potentially, if a hospital isn't looking for hats, a cancer treatment center might be. The last place I want to suggest reaching out to would be nursing homes and hospice care facilities. When I was running the yarn craft group in Ohio, one of the places that we got connected with was a hospice care facility. They were looking for lap gans, which are smaller blankets that keep the lap of the people they're servicing nice and warm, but don't get caught in wheelchair wheels. The woman who was in charge of the facility said she absolutely saw the joy that people felt when they received something handmade from a stranger, that it was really incredibly meaningful to them. So something I never would have thought of, but turned out to be one of the most rewarding charities that we worked with. I want to give you a little bonus suggestion, and this is a greater charity that works across the United States, but from my understanding, breaks things down kind of locally. I'm talking about the Loose Ends Project. And this is an organization that is not just for knitting and crocheting, but does include that as well. The purpose of this organization is to pick up and finish a project that was started by a loved one before they passed away. What a wonderful opportunity for you to help a grieving family end up with a finished item that their loved one had started before they passed. So many different organizations wanting so many different sizes and types of projects. This was certainly not an exhaustive list. So if none of these really struck your fancy, keep Googling abouts to find something that is really meaningful to you. I do want to give one last final reminder to make sure that no matter what organization you're working with, that you are either carefully reading their guidelines or communicating really well with local people to make sure that you're meeting all of their needs, both in types of projects they need, but also does the yarn need to be washable? Does it need to be soft? Do they prefer cotton or wool or acrylic? All of those details are going to be important before you start your project. Today, I am wearing my Taos shawl. This is my latest published shawl. It's one of my vacation shawls, which means that it uses one skein of yarn and it is meant to be a really relaxing project. I absolutely love the yarn that I used for this. This is a probably no longer available colorway by Junie NC. I have to tell you though, I have purchased several skeins of their yarn and each one has been absolutely stunning. So I highly recommend their yarn. For my earrings today, I'm wearing a brand new pair of earrings that I got. I've been finding myself really drawn to silver earrings lately because they just go with everything. And these are by Aspen Glow Studios. They're really lightweight, really pretty. I've worn them several times and they seem to be, holding up like metal tends to. I bought a couple pairs from them, so you'll definitely be seeing more because, I really do like them, so I might be purchasing more from them too. Links below to patterns, the yarn, where you can buy earrings. They have lots of great designs, and to all of the greater charities that I mentioned in this video. So you'll have to hunt any of them down. Links in the description below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you feel inspired to maybe take up crocheting for charity. If you want to know why I think summer is the best time to take up crocheting for charity and you want 5 steps to get started, go back and watch last week's video. Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would like, subscribe, turn on notifications, tell me what charity you would like to crochet for, or if you have an additional charity that you'd like to highlight, I would love it if you would comment below. Thank you again for joining me today. We'll see you back here next week. Until then, happy crafting!